Good afternoon, folks. Today I'm going to be presenting my final project based on my final essay of Psychology 184. My name is Bryan Salazar. Well, the topic I'm going to be talking about today is modern medicine versus ancient medicine and society. In the subtopics I'm going to be discussing are nature, environmental psychology, the problem that we're facing, um, place identity and attachment theories. I'm going to be also giving some feedback and approaching the book that we've been reading. And also, I'm going to be talking about people's trust in medicine, whether they prefer modern medicine or ancient medicine, and why. Why or what are the factors that contribute people's choice or people's preference over one to another. And finally, this the possible solution that we could take as a whole, as society, towards these issues. Right. So, introduction. Well, every day is important to remember that we are nature itself. It does not begin or end on the trees, clouds, or rivers, or that is limited to forgetting that our lungs are part of nature, just like our flesh, blood, and actions. We must have a respectful relationship with nature because we will not only be taking care of the planet, I meant to say, but also we will be taking care of ourselves. Well, the first topic was nature. So there are many ways to make this relationship with nature better, cleaner, and respectful. I will be placing emphasis on the differences in the approaches to medicine and nature between modern or scientific medicine and ancient or alternative medicine, and how society interacts with these two. Environmental psychology helps us understand this because it's a great tool for us to get a grasp and eventually understand how society is thinking, feeling, and acting with this environment. It also helps us to understand other complex concepts such as place attachment, sense of place, etc. After taking this course, my perspective of nature, my sociological behavior towards nature, and my appreciation of nature and all living things have even improved, even though I have always been very conscious about my environment. Now I have a deeper understanding of it. Well, what is the problem then that we're facing? Well, there's a real issue in the world right now, and is that currently the degradation of green spaces means something bigger than the exploitation of natural resources, expansion of cities, the lower awareness of importance of nature, but also means that are affecting traditional and indigenous communities all around the world, let alone the world itself. While cities expand and grow, the population grows with the city. More contamination and more waste, and all of this directly affects green areas or nature itself. This harm to nature is going to be reflected in the lowering of recreational areas, environmental degradation, including loss of biodiversity, and might have some effects of urban heat. Some theorists can help us understand this very important concept that is so crucial not only for us today, but for our future generations, such as attachment theory, and we could also talk about ecopsychology or environmental identity. And attachment theories. Well, first let's talk about attachment theory. Attachment theory helps us understand how people form emotional bonds with their environment. People normally develop a kind of attachment or bond to a place or environment they feel has a certain level of significance to their lives. Like for example, it could be your life work or an ideology, the same way our children create or develop a bond or attachment to their parents or caregivers. Well, I want to say that therefore destroying or reducing green areas will have a direct impact not only physically and materially, but also on a psychological level, making us feel like we lost something, or that we lack something that has been with us since the beginning of our lives, or a certain feeling like we have lost someone we love. This feeling can drive an individual to develop negative emotions like anger, sorrow, resentment, regret, disorientation, etc. Um, that normally happens to a child when he gets separated from his parents or caregivers. The same emotions and the same reactions can be expected of a group of children, right? The same way an individual loses his ground when he gets stolen from whatever makes him feel safe and sound, the same way we can expect a similar reaction from a mass or a bigger group of people, or even worse, since there might be a mass hysteria to take into consideration as a consequence of losing something so big that's everywhere, like nature. Well, that's the power of taking into consideration attachment theory because it's a potential tool to use to our advantage to prevent such events in our personal lives and for all of us as a life thinking entity called society. And also environmental identity theory. This helps us dive deep into the understanding of the psychological impact of environmental degradation on all of us as individuals who depend on nature. Now, imagine if we lose the nature that we see everywhere in the cities, like parks, streets, or any intent of the city to make us not feel like we have lost nature. The image we lose, even that little. Now, imagine we lose even that little piece of green we have in our great metropolitans or big cities. We might feel grief, lost, and it will directly affect our mental state and our quality of life. So there's a big importance in comprehending the reason why we should be respectful and resilient when trying to connect to our Mother Earth. An individual can connect to nature by just learning what harms it and what gives it health, because those things will be the same things that will harm us and give us health. So there's a big importance of persevering nature, and it cannot be stressed enough, and nobody will begin to grasp the idea of what will happen if we were to lose this implied connection until it's too late. Connecting with nature is connecting with ourselves. And an individual with no consciousness of the importance of nature is an individual who does not his importance in the world and has lost himself persecuting what the system has told him is valuable. Well, now I'd like to approach a little bit the book analysis and how I came up with some questions that will help me understand the book better and how I relate what was discussed in the book with how people and why people might choose one medicine than the other and why people should trust or not more in one medicine than the other. Well, the book name is Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teachings of Plants by Krimmer. And it approaches the idea of bringing these two worlds, where alternative or natural or ancient medicine and scientific or modern or chemical medicine together, and that combining the two or comprehending the two or using the two in certain occasions, the world we live will be more complete or it will be better for us, of course, and not just to us but also to nature. And this brings me to the question of why people believe or trust more in scientific or modern medicine than alternative or traditional medicine. And there are not one, but many reasons why. For example, technology, and it is that the passes as time passes, people tend to rely more and more on technology, making them think that technology is good, since it has alleviated many of our hurries and turned them into an extension of our daily lives, even like an extension of ourselves, like an organ. So people's trust technology has increased with time. That will be the first one. The second is the cultural influence. It's something that drives people to adapt to certain changes, like clothing, for example, or food choices, or music, or art, and even medical approaches. There are many societies in which scientific medicine is considered well above traditional medicine, and they don't even consider alternatives, options like ancient medicine that has been around thousands of years before technology and modern medicine. And the last one would be accessibility. That is something that makes people go for scientific medicine a lot more often than thinking about traditional medicine, even because they have medical insurance that covers the basic needs of a patient in a hospital or, let's say, medical place where they can be attended or go to the nearest pharmacy and buy some pills, in opposition to the traditional medicine where the patient has to go look for himself and pay all the medicine that he may need. So, what would be the possible solution? Well, imagine a world that pays attention to indigenous knowledge and integrates it into the biggest scientific centers to find more solutions for problems that are still going around in society. This ideal future, I think, is not just utopian, but it is possible by approaching holistically all this information that has been with us for thousands of years, helping humankind make it this far. We can all help to braid Sweetgrass into our way to the future with respect, resilience, reverence, and much love towards nature and science, because we cannot have one without the other. And finally, what I have referred to is John Bowlby with attachment theory, and Susan Clayton that has provided us with environmental identity, and she has worked also with Susan Apatow, and finally the writer of Braiding Sweetgrass, Robin Wall Krimmer. Well, folks, thank you so much for your time. Have a good day and be safe.